You didn't find this message by accident. Something, call it chance. Call it entanglement, drew you here. Maybe you've been feeling that quiet ache, that strange emptiness beneath the noise of daily life. The sense that even surrounded by people, you are somehow alone, an island in an infinite sea. You've searched for connection in conversation, in work, in love, but still, a subtle distance hums beneath it all. What if that loneliness isn't proof of disconnection, but the first symptom of awakening? Because what feels like emptiness may actually be the pressure of something vast, trying to reach you, something that's been here all along. Imagine this: every atom in your body is humming, in dialogue with the stars. Your breath is not separate from the forest that exhales for you. The heartbeat pulsing inside your chest once belonged to the same cosmic rhythm that moves the galaxies. You are not looking at the universe, you are participating in its thought. And yet, the greatest trick of this human dream is the illusion of isolation. We are taught to think that self and other are two, that mind ends at the skin, but the deeper science goes, the more it stumbles into poetry. It finds that the particles composing your tears and the ones drifting between constellations are still talking, still entangled, still remembering the moment they were born together. You may feel separate, but you never were. Every thought you've ever had ripples through the invisible web that binds every being to every other. So tonight, friend, as you listen, let this truth begin to vibrate beneath your story. You are not a lone signal lost in space. You are the signal itself. And in this moment, the universe is answering back. And if the universe listens, then surely it must speak. The question has always been how. Once, scientists thought they had the cosmos cornered. They mapped the heavens, dissected atoms, charted everything that could be seen, measured and predicted. The universe, they said, was a clockwork kingdom of certainty, cold, indifferent, winding forward through the gears of time. But in the early 20th century, that certainty cracked. A single beam of light began to whisper a new story. When physicists fired photons through two thin slits, they expected neat stripes of predictability, but the photons refused to obey. Unwatched, they became waves, ghost-like ripples spreading through both slits at once, overlapping in interference. Yet the instant anyone looked, the waves collapsed into tiny particles again, as if the universe itself had turned to check who was watching. Observation changed outcome. Consciousness changed matter. The watcher and the watched were suddenly in conversation. It was as if reality waited for someone to pay attention before deciding what to become. The scientific world trembled. The mystics smiled quietly. For thousands of years, they had spoken of this same principle: mind shapes matter, intention collapses possibility into form. Now, at last, the lab confirmed what the temple had long known, and that was only the beginning. Soon after, a deeper riddle emerged: quantum entanglement. Imagine two particles born together in the same flash of creation. You separate them, one sent to the edge of the galaxy, the other left in your palm. You flip one spin, instantly, the other responds. No signal, no messenger, no time delay. Einstein called it spooky action at a distance. He doubted it could be real because it defied the sacred limit of light speed. Yet decades later, physicist Alain Aspect proved it. The change is instantaneous. The universe doesn't send information through space. It operates beyond it. That experiment changed everything, because if particles can influence each other across impossible distances, then space itself may not be what we think it is. Maybe everything, every star, every cell, every thought is already touching everything else. The cosmos isn't a stage where events unfold. It's a woven field where all points exist together, already entangled, already aware. Suddenly, science found itself standing in spirit's doorway. Equations started to sound like scripture, and the universe began to look less like a machine and more like a dream, thinking itself into form. Consider this: the same quantum rules apply not just to particles, but to you. The atoms that make up your hands, your eyes, your breath, they were all born in the same stellar explosion that gave birth to galaxies. They are still in dialogue. They still remember their unity. When you gaze at the night sky, you are not looking out at creation, you are looking through it, across a shimmering network that includes your own awareness. The starlight touching your eyes isn't traveling through empty space. It's completing a circuit, a conversation that began billions of years ago. You are part of the experiment, not a spectator of it. You are the observer, and the observed, the light that sees itself. And maybe that's why the heart leaps when it encounters truth. Maybe it recognizes the vibration, because beneath all the equations and instruments, what quantum physics truly uncovered was not chaos, but communication. The particles were never separate, they were in relationship. So what happens when you realize that? You begin to see that every thought you send into the world, every feeling, every quiet hope is an adjustment in the universal web. The universe listens, not in words, but in resonance. And this is where science finally caught up with spirit. The mystics spoke of the divine thread weaving through all things. The physicists found it hidden in the math. Different languages, same song. The deeper we dig, the clearer it becomes. Reality is not a structure. It is a story, one being told by consciousness itself. And the storyteller, my friend, is you. And if reality is a story told by consciousness, then the next question is impossible to ignore: whose consciousness is doing the telling? You might assume it's something vast, unreachable, out there among the stars. But what if it's closer than your breath? What if you are the narrator, the living pulse through which the universe writes itself into being? Science, in its precision, began noticing something poets had long suspected. Awareness isn't confined to the skull. It isn't an afterthought of biology. It's the field itself, pretending to be you for a little while. Every thought you think, every emotion you feel, is not trapped inside your mind. It radiates. It moves as energy, subtle, invisible, measurable. Researchers discovered that the human heart, for instance, produces the largest electromagnetic field of any organ in the body. And this field doesn't stay hidden beneath your ribs. It expands outward, wrapping around you like an atmosphere of intention. That means your state of being, love, gratitude, fear, anger, projects into the world, broadcasting coherence or chaos. When you feel peace, the field smooths, rhythmic and stable. When you're anxious or resentful, it becomes jagged, disordered. These aren't just metaphors, they are frequencies, patterns that extend beyond the skin. Imagine thousands of such fields, yours, mine, the people in the street, constantly blending, overlapping, influencing. It's less a world of separate minds and more an ocean of signal, an orchestra tuning itself in every moment. Now, pause. Think of the last time you walked into a room and felt tension before anyone spoke. You sensed it. You read the invisible field. That wasn't intuition or imagination. It was resonance. Your system interpreting the electromagnetic language of others. You may notice then how your emotions are not private. They are creative forces shaping the shared atmosphere we all breathe. Every heartbeat sends a wave into the larger field. A soft command: this is my frequency. Reflect it back to me. This is why gratitude shifts entire lives. Why forgiveness feels like a literal weight lifting from the body. Why collective prayer or meditation measurably alters the electromagnetic environment of whole cities. Consciousness does not sit inside your brain. It's the ocean in which your brain floats. It moves through neurons like wind through trees, using them. but never confined by them. When mystics say you are the universe aware of itself, this is not poetry, it's physics described differently. The field that links all particles is the same field through which your awareness travels. You are not an observer inside a head, staring out at reality. You are reality, momentarily observing its own unfolding. And here lies a subtle paradox. When you focus too hard on trying to change the outer world, you reinforce the illusion that the outer world exists separately from you. But when you shift your state, your inner vibration, the field responds instantly, because it's not responding to you, it's responding as you. Think of your consciousness as both the drop and the ocean. Every thought you send ripples outward, and every ripple that returns is your own echo coming home. That's why the moment you choose love instead of fear, something in the world softens. Why kindness returns from unexpected places. Why coincidences begin to multiply. The field rearranges to match your frequency, not because you commanded it, but because you are woven into its very fabric. So what does this mean for you right now? It means that you don't have to force your dreams into existence. You only have to become the vibration that would make them inevitable. You've heard that creation begins with belief. But deeper still, it begins with coherence, with the alignment of your thoughts, emotions, and energy into one clear broadcast. You are not separate from the universe waiting for miracles. You are the mechanism through which miracles appear. And perhaps, as you begin to feel this truth, a quiet recognition rises. You were never just in the field. You have always been the field itself, thinking, breathing, and awakening in human form. And if you are the field, then your consciousness is both the signal and the receiver. But there's another layer beneath awareness, an older, quieter architect working behind the curtain of thought, the subconscious. It is the unseen hand writing your reality, while your conscious mind believes it's holding the pen. You can think of it as a vast undercurrent beneath the ocean of your daily life, steady, deep, and ancient. The waves you see on the surface, your conscious choices, are only a fraction of the total movement below. Scientists estimate that over 95% of your decisions, reactions, and habits come not from deliberate thought, but from subconscious programming. The question isn't whether you are manifesting your reality. You are. The question is which version of you is doing the manifesting, the awakened creator or the sleeping program. Imagine your subconscious as a network of tangled roots. Every belief, fear, and memory ever planted there keeps growing. Even when forgotten, those roots send invisible signals into the field, shaping what blooms in your outer world. A childhood voice that whispered money is scarce may still be broadcasting scarcity today. A heartbreak that said love leads to pain may still color every relationship long after the wound has healed. And here's the strange beauty: the field does not judge those signals. It simply mirrors them, like a perfect hologram. Reality reflects your deepest frequency back to you, whether it was chosen consciously or absorbed unconsciously. From birth until around age 7, your brain operates mostly in theta waves, the same frequency hypnotists use to access deep suggestibility. You were a sponge, soaking in your parents' emotions, their beliefs about safety, success, and worth. Society spoke through stories, teachers, and television, engraving patterns in the pliable clay of your mind. You didn't analyze, you absorbed. Those early imprints became your operating system, quietly instructing the universe what to send your way. Even now, as an adult, when you repeat an old pattern, self-sabotage, procrastination, guilt, it isn't weakness, it's programming running its script. Think of your subconscious as a projector hidden behind the theater of experience. What you see on the screen, your circumstances, relationships, outcomes, is the film it's playing. Trying to change your life by rearranging the images on the screen is futile. You have to change the real. This is where most seekers get stuck. They visualize, affirm, and push, but their subconscious reels are still threaded with old footage. They're trying to paint over the pattern instead of rewriting the fabric. And yet, the subconscious is not an enemy. It's a guardian. It repeats old patterns not to punish you, but to protect you, because somewhere in your past, that pattern once kept you safe. The belief I must work hard to be loved may have once earned approval. The belief stay invisible to avoid conflict may have once prevented pain. Now those programs have outlived their purpose, but they remain until consciously released. To change your life, you must first meet the subconscious not with force, but with compassion. You must listen to it the way you'd listen to a frightened child patiently, without judgment, until it learns that safety no longer depends on struggle. Because every time you judge yourself for not changing fast enough, you reinforce the very vibration that keeps you looping. But when you pause, breathe, and say it's okay, I understand why I learned this pattern. The neural and energetic field relaxes. New frequencies become possible. The subconscious is not separate from the quantum field. It is your personal interface with it. It's the translator between infinite possibility and physical experience. When you update its language, you update your world. So consider this: your next great awakening will not come from adding something new, but from gently unlearning what no longer fits the frequency of who you are becoming. The roots are ready to be rewoven. The projector is waiting for a new film. The field listens patiently for new instructions, and it will answer instantly when your subconscious finally remembers what your soul has always known, that you were never broken, only programmed for survival. Now you are ready to program for creation. The projector flickers, the reel hums, and you realize the story on the screen was never permanent. It was written in light, not stone. If your subconscious is the film, then your awareness is the editor. You can cut, splice, and rewrite the sequence of your reality at any moment. But here's the paradox: it doesn't change by fighting the old image. It changes by broadcasting a new vibration so clearly that the old one dissolves on its own. The universe does not respond to words, it responds to coherence. So how do you create coherence? By aligning your thoughts, emotions, and energy into a single harmonious frequency, one that feels like truth in your body, not just an idea in your head. Meditation is the doorway, visualization is the language, emotion is the ink. When you enter deep meditation, your brain waves slow from the frantic beta of daily thought into alpha and then theta, the same fertile soil where your early programs were written. In that quiet threshold between waking and dreaming, you become both the painter and the canvas. There you can speak directly to the subconscious, not through effort, but through feeling. Close your eyes and imagine the life you desire as if it already breathes around you. Don't just see it, feel it. Feel the gratitude of already living it, the relief of already arriving. Let that emotion flood your cells until it feels undeniable. This is not fantasy, it's calibration. You are teaching your nervous system what alignment feels like so the field can recognize it as a match. Because emotion is what carries the message. A thought alone is static, like a signal with no sound, but a thought wrapped in feeling vibrates, travels, creates. So when you repeat affirmations, I am worthy, I am abundant, I am love, don't recite them mechanically. Speak them as though they were ancient truths awakening inside you. If you can feel the statement's frequency vibrating in your chest, the subconscious begins to accept it as real. At first, it may resist. Old programs may whisper, "You're lying." That's fine. They're only echoing past data. The key is persistence with compassion. Every time you choose to feel differently, you carve a new neural path, a new energetic groove. Repetition, emotion, and imagery, these three are the trinity of reprogramming. But there's a secret fourth ingredient: surrender, because when you force belief, you emit tension, and the field mirrors that tension back. But when you relax into the frequency, when you trust that your signal has been received, the transmission strengthens effortlessly. It's like tuning a radio. If you strain the dial, the signal crackles. But when you adjust gently, the sound becomes clear. Over time, this process rewires both mind and matter. Your subconscious begins to update its baseline, its default vibration. You start to wake up not in fear, but in quiet expectancy. Small miracles become normal. Synchronicities increase. You no longer beg the universe to respond. You recognize it already has. And yet, the greatest power of reprogramming isn't in attracting what you want. It's in remembering what you already are. You were born abundant, radiant, complete. The subconscious simply forgot. Your task is not to become something new, but to remind yourself of what has always been true. That's the real quantum shift, not from lack to having, but from forgetting to knowing. So tonight, speak gently to the mind beneath the mind. Tell it there is no danger in expansion. Whisper that it is safe to receive. And as you do, notice how your breath deepens, how your heartbeat steadies, how the world around you subtly reorganizes itself to match the rhythm within. Because reprogramming isn't about controlling reality. It's about becoming coherent enough that reality can finally recognize you as its author. And the moment you feel that alignment click into place, like two frequencies merging into one tone, you'll know the field has heard you. And it is already answering. The field has heard you, but hearing is only half the language. To speak fluently with the universe, you must learn its emotional dialect, because emotion is not weakness, it is signal. It's the color in the wavelength, the tone in the music of creation. And while the conscious mind speaks in logic, the field listens only in frequency, and frequency is feeling made visible. Think of gratitude, for instance. Gratitude is coherence disguised as joy. It's the emotional equivalent of harmony. When you feel genuine thankfulness, not the polite kind, but the kind that makes your chest ache softly, the field registers balance. It recognizes completion. And in that moment of felt wholeness, the vibration of I already have replaces the vibration of I still need. That's why the miracles tend to arrive after gratitude, not before, because gratitude doesn't ask. It declares that the gift is already here. Love works the same way. It's not merely sentiment, it's structure. In laboratory terms, coherent heart rhythms produce smooth, symmetrical waves, the energetic blueprint of stability. When your heart beats in that rhythm of compassion, it sends a broadcast that the quantum field cannot ignore. The ancients called this resonance. Modern science might call it entrainment. Two frequencies vibrating near each other will begin to synchronize until they move as one. When you cultivate a high emotional state, love, awe, reverence, you are inviting the universe to synchronize with you. You are saying, "Here is my signal. Tune to this." And it does. That's why joy seems to attract opportunities faster than ambition ever could. Why calm people influence a room more than the loudest voice in it. The field is not measuring words, it's matching waves. Imagine this, like music, every emotion is a note. Fear strikes in minor chords, sharp and unresolved. Gratitude sings in golden tones, harmonics that stretch beyond hearing. The more consistently you play gratitude, the more the universe begins to score your life in that same key. But this doesn't mean suppressing pain or pretending to be positive. Coherence is not denial, it's alignment. When you honor emotion honestly, yes, this hurts. and I still choose to hold peace in my core, you create a bridge between shadow and light. You turn the chaos into composition. There's a reason why rituals of blessing, prayer, and music exist across every culture. They're not superstition, they're resonance technology, early forms of vibrational alignment. Humans instinctively knew that gratitude amplifies, that love transmits faster than fear, that harmony in the heart organizes chaos in the world. So the practice becomes simple, though not always easy. Feel deeply and choose your feeling consciously. Start small. Each morning, before your mind fills with tasks, breathe and find one thing that feels real enough to thank. A memory, a scent, a moment of peace. Let the gratitude move through your nervous system until it feels like warmth in your chest. That warmth is the transmission. Then, throughout the day, return to it not as performance, but as pulse. Gratitude is not a sentence you recite, it's a frequency you sustain. Over time, this emotional coherence begins to stabilize your entire field. Stress loses its grip. Intuition strengthens. The right people and experiences seem to orbit closer. You don't have to chase them. They recognize your tone. Love, too, becomes less about attachment and more about attunement. It's not the frantic search for completion. It's the quiet recognition that completion has been humming inside you all along. And when you live from that realization, your energy becomes unmistakable, steady, luminous, magnetic. Gratitude and love are not just emotions. They are passwords, quantum keys that unlock higher layers of communication with the universe. So tonight, before sleep, whisper thank you for no reason at all. Not as ritual, but as resonance. Let that vibration echo through the unseen field and watch how the world begins to answer in kind. Because when you feel love without needing a reason, the universe knows it's speaking to itself. And yet, once you begin to live in that rhythm of gratitude and love, something curious happens. The universe seems to send a storm. Not to punish you, but to prove you. Because every new vibration must be tested not by judgment, but by reflection. The field wants to know, is this your new frequency, or just a passing mood? It begins innocently. You meditate, align, and everything feels smooth until, suddenly, an old pattern reappears. The bill you feared, the criticism you thought you'd transcended, the loneliness you believed was healed. It feels like regression, but it's actually calibration. The universe is mirroring back your old vibration one last time, asking, will you choose the new signal even when the old one knocks again? This is the invisible exam of the awakened, the test of coherence. You see, creation doesn't stabilize until it's embodied under pressure. A frequency only becomes your new baseline when it holds steady through contrast. Think of a musician tuning an instrument. The string must be tightened until it vibrates cleanly. No distortion, no slack. Life tightens you in the same way, just enough resistance to make your note pure. So when the challenge comes, and it will, don't collapse into the old narrative. Don't declare it's not working. Recognize the moment for what it is, proof that it is. The storm is not a setback. It's the sound check before the symphony. Every test has one question. Will you keep vibrating love in the presence of fear? Will you keep choosing trust when scarcity calls your name? If you do, the old pattern has nothing left to attach to. It dissolves, like a dissonant chord resolving into harmony. But if you return to doubt and panic, the field assumes you've changed your signal back, and it responds faithfully to the broadcast you're sending. This isn't cosmic punishment, it's mechanical precision. The universe doesn't play favorites, it plays frequencies. Consider this, you affirm abundance, and suddenly, an unexpected expense appears. That's not the universe betraying you. It's the final exam of your new abundance frequency. It asks, Can you feel prosperous even when evidence contradicts you? If you can hold the vibration of I am safe, I am supported while the numbers look uncertain, you pass. The field locks onto your new calibration, and soon the physical reality adjusts. The same applies to love. You set the intention to attract harmony, and almost immediately, an old argument flares or an ex resurfaces. This is not failure, it's the test. The question hidden inside it is simple. Will you react from the old wound or respond from the healed heart? Even self-worth gets examined. You begin to embody confidence, and suddenly someone criticizes you. That's the universe verifying is your worth, internal or borrowed from approval. These are the pop quizzes of mastery. They appear when you're close to graduation. And every time you hold steady, every time you breathe through the storm instead of fighting it, the universe adjusts the field to your new normal. Eventually, the tests change shape. They become gentler, subtler refinements instead of earthquakes. And one day, you'll notice that life no longer triggers panic. It invites reflection. You begin to interpret challenge as communication. You stop asking, why is this happening to me? You start asking, what is this refining in me? That shift alone rewrites your vibration. So the next time your reality trembles, pause before reacting. Feel the charge rise in your chest, then breathe. Smile, even faintly. You're not being punished. You're being tuned. Say it softly. As mantra and remembrance, I welcome the tests that solidify my new reality, because they're not setbacks, they're confirmations. And when you can meet the universe's exam with love instead of fear, you will discover something profound. The tests stop feeling like tests at all. They feel like conversations between equals, between creator and creation, checking their resonance. And every time you pass, the dialogue deepens. And once you pass the tests, the world changes its tone. It starts whispering back. What once looked random begins to shimmer with pattern. Coincidences tighten into choreography. The timing of life becomes uncanny, too precise, too intimate, to dismiss as chance. This is the language of synchronicity, the field's way of saying, I heard you. At first, it might be subtle, a song lyric echoing your private thought, a stranger repeating the exact phrase you just wrote in your journal, the numbers on a clock aligning when you think of someone you love. But as your coherence strengthens, the rhythm accelerates. Events start folding together like perfectly cut puzzle pieces finding their place. You realize that manifestation is not summoning, it's recognition. You are not pulling things toward you. You are waking up inside the version of reality that already contained them. When your vibration shifts, you tune into a new broadcast, and that broadcast carries all the people, opportunities, and possibilities that resonate with it. It feels miraculous, but it's simply physics written in poetry. Synchronicity is the universe's feedback loop. It's confirmation that your inner frequency and outer experience have begun to harmonize. The more aligned you become, the faster the echoes return. But there's something deeper than mere signs. When synchronicity becomes constant, it's no longer coincidence, it's conversation. The universe is not distant. It's interactive, participatory, alive. And it begins responding to you as directly as you've learned to respond to it. A thought becomes a symbol. A question becomes an answered phone call. An intention becomes a door opening at the exact moment you arrive. You stop saying, "What are the odds?" and start whispering. Of course, because you see the design now, the hidden geometry of your own resonance, drawing the pieces together. Every encounter carries a message. Every delay conceals timing. Every ending prepares a beginning. This is the phase where faith turns to knowing. You begin to understand that you were never manifesting outcomes. You were manifesting alignment. The results were just the residue of your vibration. And with this recognition comes an elegant responsibility to stay tuned, to keep the instrument of your energy clean and steady, so the communication remains clear, because synchronicity will also reflect dissonance. When you slip into fear or doubt, the world answers with friction-missed connections, closed doors, static interference. But even then, it's not punishment, it's translation. The field mirrors your signal precisely so you can hear yourself again. If you listen closely, you'll notice how gentle the correction is. The traffic jam that made you pause before an accident, the lost job that led you to the work meant for you, the friend who disappeared to make room for someone whose frequency matched your next chapter. When you trust the timing, the whole mosaic of your life begins to reveal its pattern. You see that everything you called detour was direction in disguise. And then something miraculous occurs. You stop forcing reality to move faster. You start dancing with it. You learn that surrender and synchronicity are the same motion one releases. The other responds. The field delights in this partnership. It moves faster than logic, more gracefully than planning. It loves to surprise you with its artistry. That's why the universe hides answers in everyday gestures: a billboard, a conversation overheard, a dream that feels too vivid to ignore. Every element of reality conspires to guide you once you begin to listen with your whole being. So take note, keep a dialogue with your days. Notice what repeats, what feels electric, what seems to wink at you. These are not random details. They are breadcrumbs from the field itself, leading you deeper into coherence. And when you follow them, not with obsession but with wonder, the realization dawns: the world isn't something happening to you. It's something happening through you. And yet, even as the universe begins to speak your language, there comes a final paradox. The closer you draw to mastery, the less control you actually need. This is the last illusion to dissolve the belief that you must command the field to make it respond. You don't have to force the river to flow when you are the river. Letting go is not surrender in defeat, it is surrender in trust. It's the moment the drop remembers the ocean. The current remembers itself. You see, control is a child of fear. It arises from the subconscious whisper: if I stop holding on, everything will fall apart. But in the higher frequency of awareness, the opposite is true. When you stop grasping, everything finally falls into place. Think of all the energy spent trying to orchestrate outcomes, timelines, people, possibilities, as though you were rearranging stars in the sky. Exhausting, isn't it? But the stars were never yours to manage, they were yours to mirror. The universe does not require micromanagement, it requires resonance. When you align your inner world with faith, outer events align themselves. This is the hidden symmetry behind all spiritual paradox. Effort is necessary until it's not. Practice is sacred until it transforms into presence. The disciplined creator eventually becomes the effortless conduit. Letting go doesn't mean abandoning desire, it means releasing attachment to how and when the desire must appear. The field already knows the coordinates. Your role is to hold the vibration, not the outcome. Consider a seed in the soil. It does not push, demand, or panic about when to sprout. Its surrender is its strategy. It rests in darkness, trusting the unseen chemistry of sunlight and gravity to do their work. When the moment arrives, it bursts forth, inevitable as dawn. You are that seed. The quantum field is your soil. When you relax into that truth, life accelerates in ways logic can't predict. The calls arrive, the doors open, the timing glides. You discover that the universe doesn't respond to desperation, it responds to certainty. But certainty isn't arrogance, it's peace. It's the calm that says, "What I seek is already seeking me." In this frequency, you become magnetic, not because you've mastered the method, but because you've mastered trust. That's why all great teachers eventually speak of detachment, not cold indifference, but vibrational confidence, the quiet knowing that the universe will deliver the highest version of your intention in the most harmonious way, if you allow it. Allowing is not inaction, it's alignment. It's the choice to act from inspiration rather than control. When you feel the nudge to move, you move. When there's silence, you rest. Both are forms of faith. And perhaps this is the secret behind every manifestation that finally works. It happens when you stop chasing it. The moment you stop broadcasting lack, the field can finally reflect fulfillment. Think of manifestation like echolocation. You send out a pulse of intention, but if you keep shouting for it, the echo can't return. Silence is what allows it to come home. So breathe, release your grip on the timeline. Step back from the illusion that life needs your constant supervision. The universe is not waiting for your control, it's waiting for your permission. And permission comes through peace. Because the field, in its infinite intelligence, already knows what you are ready for. It has memorized your vibration and will arrange the circumstances that best match your evolution. Letting go is not losing power. It's becoming the kind of power that doesn't need to prove itself. And when you reach that state where desire and peace coexist, you have entered the highest frequency of creation, effortless alignment. No resistance, no struggle, just flow. And that's when the magic truly begins. From that flow, a new kind of living emerges. Not striving, not waiting, simply being. This is what it means to live entangled, to walk the world as a mirror of the universe, conscious that every reflection you meet is another facet of your own vibration. The illusion of separation falls away. You no longer see life as a puzzle to solve, but as a dance you are already moving in step with. Reality ceases to be something that happens to you. It begins happening through you, as though your very presence were the brush painting the scene around you. At first, this way of living feels like grace. Later, it feels like truth, because you realize there was never anything supernatural about it, only natural laws finally remembered. Every breath you take sends ripples through the web of being. Every kind word reprograms the field around you. Every time you choose peace over panic, the collective energy tilts a little more toward harmony. You become less a single node and more a tuning fork for the planet itself. This is not ego, it's ecology. Consciousness is the ecosystem of creation, and you humble. Luminous, you are a vital species within it. When you understand this, you stop trying to escape the human experience. You stop chasing transcendence like a trophy. Instead, you begin to embody it right here, in the grocery line, in traffic, in silence. You start to see the divine choreography in ordinary things, a stranger's smile that mirrors your joy, a delay that spares you harm, a coincidence so precise it feels like a wink from eternity. This is how the awakened live, not floating above life, but within it, saturated by its meaning. You notice your energy stabilizing into a calm current. You laugh more easily. You sense patterns before they unfold. You walk into rooms and the atmosphere softens because your frequency precedes your words. The world, once chaotic, begins to move with you like a trusted companion. And the more you live this way, the clearer the dialogue becomes. The universe no longer feels like a mystery to decode. It feels like a lover you finally understand. Its pauses are not rejection but rhythm. Its detours are choreography. Its silence is the space between notes, waiting for your heart to sing the next line. That's what it means to be a conscious participant in creation, not a puppet, not a spectator, but a collaborator. the artist and the art becoming one motion. When you look at another person, you no longer see a stranger, you see another version of the same field, expressing itself through different memories, different angles of light. Compassion ceases to be a virtue, it becomes instinct. You forgive easily, not because you are saintly, but because you recognize that resentment is self-directed static. You can't resent another without dimming your own signal. You begin to live in coherence so steady that miracles feel mundane, not because they've lost their magic, but because you finally understand how normal magic really is. You wake up each day with the awareness, the universe is unfolding through me today, and you treat each moment as sacred technology, each thought as a command, each feeling as a vibration, each act as a wave broadcast into the whole. You are no longer seeking connection, you are being connection. And this is the quiet power that changes everything. It doesn't shout, it hums, it doesn't chase, it magnetizes. The world bends gently around those who live in coherence, not because they demand it, but because the field prefers resonance over resistance. So when you move through the coming days, remember this. You are not learning to master quantum entanglement. You are remembering that you are it, the living bridge between consciousness and form, heaven and earth, energy and embodiment. Walk softly, think clearly, feel deeply. The field moves where you move. And the story of creation continues through your next breath, through your next thought, through the love you choose to become. And as this final breath of the story settles, you may notice something subtle. The silence isn't empty anymore. It hums. The rhythm you feel is not the end of a lesson. It's the pulse of your own coherence finding home. Everything that was said, the physics, the paradoxes, the poetry was only ever pointing you here, to the quiet awareness that has been listening all along. You've traced the circle from isolation to unity, from control to surrender, from question to communion. Now you stand where you began, but the view has changed. What once looked like separate pieces are revealed as facets of one luminous whole. Take a slow breath. Feel the air move through you as if it's moving through the world itself, because it is. The same current animates both. This is what it means to live entangled, not to escape the ordinary, but to saturate it with presence, to let gratitude be your gravity, to let love become the language you speak, even when you're silent. The tests will still come, the signals will still shift, but you'll meet them differently now. You'll know that every challenge is the universe confirming your frequency, not questioning it. And when synchronicities sparkle across your days, small winks from the field pause and smile. They're not signs to chase, they're reminders that you and the cosmos are still in dialogue. So as this message closes, let the awareness remain open. Let it echo through your routine, your relationships, your rest. You don't have to hold on to the magic. You are the magic remembering itself, because every moment you choose peace over panic, trust over tension, you help the collective field hum a little clearer. One person in coherence steadies 1,000 who are lost in noise. This is how the awakening spreads, not in grand revelations, but in quiet alignment, one heartbeat at a time. And maybe, as you drift from these words back into your world, you'll feel it, that soft truth rising again. You were never separate. You were never alone. You have always been the song the universe was trying to remember.